Well, it would seem that, well, the good thing first is that Ebola is not in Nigeria. And, well, the other good thing is that, well, we have seen some volunteers trying to see how they can help some other African nations in the fight to stamp out Ebola. Well, the spirit of volunteerism is what we're looking at this morning, and we're being joined by Adeola Awogbemi. She's the Executive Director, Volunteer Corps. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Well, first of all, let's look at the spirit of volunteerism, which we have started to see in the country, before we go into what we expect of those medical officers and professionals that have been asked to go help other African countries in the fight against the EVD.
Okay, when we talk about volunteerism, this is an altruistic act that is rendered by individuals, civil society organizations, corporate institutions. And I would like to say that the spirit of volunteerism has not been a culture in Nigeria, but it is evolving over time. So now we have people coming out to volunteer their time, their skill, resources. It is either you volunteer your time or your skill or your resources. So now we have people coming out. Take for instance, we work with schools, public schools in Lagos State, about 45 schools, thanks to the Lagos State government. Without volunteers, we are unable to do this. The volunteers go to the schools to teach the students every weekend. So without the support of volunteers, it will be difficult to do many things. We can't leave all to government. So volunteers are the ones who will support organizations, the country itself, in promoting the spirit of volunteerism. So without volunteers, it will be difficult for organizations such as ours to do development work.
I know a lot of us we understand the definition of the word volunteer, but what does it mean to volunteer, and what can you volunteer?
To volunteer means to make an impact, to give of yourself.
At no cost?
At no cost. Some volunteers, all the volunteers that we work with, we don't pay them anything. It is just what they want to do. You have to have an interest. You have to be willing to do this. You have to be willing to give back to society. Giving back to society, we're talking about underprivileged people sometimes. Take, for instance, the students in public schools. You cannot compare the students in public schools with the students in private schools. So these volunteers from different fields of endeavors, come together to impact these young ones. They not only teach them the subjects that they do in school, they also impact them with life skills to help them to go on in life.
How acceptable is volunteerism? I just walk into a school and say, I want to volunteer to teach English. How acceptable is it? Because some people will actually be scared. What's this person bringing? Why does he want to come and volunteer at no cost to me?
Well, I would not advise that you go straight onto a school to say that we want to volunteer.
Is it acceptable?
Yes, it is. It is. But you would also know that there are structures in place, in the schools. So you cannot just walk to them. You can walk to maybe the head of the school. You can come to organizations such as ours. We work with over 50 schools in Lagos and Ogun State. So we deal with these school owners. We deal with school managers. We deal with students. And we have centers that, you can go to teach. And then also we have other organizations who go to these schools to lecture, to teach the students.
Besides volunteering in schools, let's, for instance, on Friday or thereabout, or within last week, Nigeria sent out some volunteers to go to the other West African countries to help. Now, it took some time, but eventually they had over 200 people volunteering. What do you think was the impetus behind that?
Well, from my own observation, because we don't have that spirit of volunteerism, some people still believe that in order to do this, you have to pay me some token to be able to carry out some of these things. And I won't entirely blame them, because it is sometimes the economic situation of the country. They are willing to volunteer, but they just do not have the resources. Take, for instance, the people, the 250 health workers, cut across doctors, nurses, pharmacists, who have volunteered their time. They have been trained to go and carry out this task. But the government also needs to empower them. That is why a company like Airtel has come in and donated phones to them and also lanterns to them. So, we need to empower people who are going to be doing this kind of volunteering activities. So the government not only train them, it needs to also empower them. This is where we also invite corporate institutions to come in and support.
Let me break it down. Let me go to a real life situation, which is the main news as we speak. Doctors have been asked to go to some of the Ebola hit countries. Medical professionals and some others that will be helping out who are not even doctors in helping these countries. These are volunteers. What do you expect of these people, and what do you expect of the government as well that has sent them to these countries?
Okay. The people are volunteering their time to go to these countries. They already know that it is either way. I could be affected also. Yeah, and that is where the government comes in. The government needs to protect this because they have willingly come out to say, I want to volunteer, I want to help, I want to save human lives. So that is volunteering on one side. They have given of themselves. So government needs to put things in place. You need to empower them. They have been trained adequately. They have been mobilized now. So, you know, that has been in place. So government needs to ensure that these people are well taken care of. You don't need to give them physical cash, but you need to put things in place. Where they're going to stay, you have to take care of that. What they're going to be eating, you need to also take care of that.
So because of the nature of what they're going into,
yes,
the safety is
important. It's paramount. It's really paramount. It's very, very paramount. Government needs to ensure that they are not also affected because they're coming back to Nigeria at the end of the day. And we don't want that the Ebola to come back to Nigeria. We also have 250 health workers on ground in case there's any problem. They have also been trained. So, you know, government needs to mobilize them. Government needs to ensure that they are kept in safe places.
Since you know about the numbers of those that have also been trained, are you also in the know as to the hygiene culture, the culture of hygiene in our country since after Ebola? Are we still imbibing the hygienic culture?
Yes, we are. One thing that the Ebola crisis has done is to, you know, sensitize people on the need to be health conscious.
Do we have volunteers who are doing that presently?
Yes, we have. We have organizations. We have the volunteer organizations who are also working in that, you know, to enlighten people, to sensitize, create awareness on the need to keep, you know, healthy at all times. You know, even when you go to schools where you have public school students and private schools, you know, before you go into the schools, you need to wash your hands, you need to, you know, use the sanitizers. We have these in various institutions also. So it has created a consciousness in Nigerians. Yeah, that has created a consciousness. So everywhere you go now, you see people, you know, trying to ensure that they are clean at all times. And you know, so that, you know, everybody is aware of what is happening. So because of that, we are all making sure that, you know, we're safe because we don't want Ebola to come back to Nigeria.
Volunteering is something that the United Nations is promoting itself. I mean, even now we have a World Volunteers Day, I think, which was just on Friday.
Yes.
Yeah, but what have you noticed is in the way of, you know, improving, because you say that volunteering as a culture in Nigeria is just evolving. What is standing in the way of, you know, volunteering, making it more of us, so to speak, making it a culture, if you like, rather than just being in this state of evolution?
Yeah, I would say that is the work of some organizations, I mean volunteering organizations. We need to create awareness. The media, that is where you're also coming. We need to keep sensitizing the people on the need to volunteers. If you look at if you look at developed countries of the world, the youth contributes more than 50% of community service to the development of those countries. We need to sensitize our youth. We need to start to tell them from when they're young, but from when they're older.
What you've noticed, I mean, because I'm sure your organization has been out, you know, trying to sensitize people.
Yes.
What have you noticed? What is usually the reaction? Do you find that young people are lukewarm? Are they interested? If they are, are they committed eventually? What have you noticed?
All that you have said, describes what I have seen. Youths are lukewarm, they're not interested, they ask what is in it for me. Some adults are more interested than the youths. Our youths are more interested in other things, So not to volunteer their time. Oh, they would rather go and do something. But you have youths who are doing fantastic job in volunteerism, and they are also promoting that culture. If you take Daya Israel, for instance, he's been volunteering, and he's still volunteering. He's sensitizing youth. We work with youths, and many of them still come back to volunteer their time. But that is just a minute percentage. So we need to do more. That is why I said the media also has a major role to play in, creating awareness on volunteering.
Does it bother you, this
Yes, it does.
This lukewarm attitude you see on the side of young people? Does it bother you a great deal?
Yes, it does. And that is why we teach life skills to these students, to let them know that it is not just money, money, money. In volunteering, you are also improving yourself. You are giving a part of yourself. You are learning something. When you see the smiles, the joy on the faces of people that you have done something for, you are happy at the end of the day. You have also gained something. So it's a two-way street. You give back, you also take. Whatever you give back is also coming back to you. And that is the point that people are missing, that we need to also emphasize on.
You've talked about how, the situation of the economy, has affected people or, stopped them from offering themselves as they would like to. Maybe that could be a factor. It could also be that, there also been like a disco. But have you been able to see support for people who volunteer? Because some people will say, even if you don't give them, you can't pay them for their time, there should be some form of stipends given to these people to encourage them and to ensure that they don't go hungry for the fact that they're volunteering.
Yeah, and that is why we call on private institutions, corporate institutions rather, to support civil society organizations, NGOs that are working, on development issues, because we need to keep, to ensure that we're able to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. So without the support of corporate institutions, it will be a bit difficult. We need to keep reaching out to them. We're reaching out to them, and some of them through their CSR initiatives have been fantastic. But we need more support from corporate institutions. So I am reaching out to them today to say, please support civil society organizations, support the media, support NGOs, even individuals that are working to promote volunteerism. We also have what we call the employer-supported volunteerism. This talks about employers encouraging their staff to volunteer their time, to volunteer anywhere in different, fields. The employers, give their time staff maybe 1 or 2 hours a week to, go volunteer, and then the employee also, gives 1 or 2 hours of their own time to also go volunteer. This could be like an appraisal at the end of the year in an organization. Some organizations are doing that. So we need to keep promoting it in the organizations, in our schools, everywhere, in our churches. You see many volunteers in churches, volunteering to do different things. So we need to keep doing this. But we talked about support to volunteers, as in giving them a stipend. For me, volunteerism is an altruistic art that you should not ask for, payment for. And many of the volunteers that I have seen have not requested to be paid. In talking about the economic situation of Nigeria, we know things are a bit difficult, but I will tell you today that we have had volunteers who you can see are not so, are not rich, but because of the joy they derive in giving back to society, in empowering the youths, they have kept at this without asking for any form of compensation.
I think we've said that much, and we're hoping that this spirit will be a culture pretty much soon in the country. We've been speaking with Adeola Awogbemi. She's the Executive Director of Volunteer Corps, and she has spoken about the need for us to imbibe the spirit of selfless act of giving our service to humanity. Well, Sarah Zella takes a break now. We'll return shortly. Well, I was actually hoping that we could get 1 or 2 tweets. Okay, we might just have 3. Well, this is on prison breaks. To be candid, the prison officials need to be more equipped than they are at the moment. This is from Olofin.
I can tell it's obvious that the system has failed yet again. A change at the helm may not change much.
And Morris says, when prisoners have access to generator sets and mobile phones, these consistent jailbreaks are inevitable.
Well, we're still hoping to see what the ministry in charge will do, and the new man who's just come on the saddle on just close to the weekend will also do to put a stop to all of this. What we see on this, well, he did promise that Wednesday we should get well, a clear insight as to what transpired in the Mina prisons. We'll hope and we'll follow up on that particular one. For now, we'd like to thank you so much for being such nice company. We'll return again tomorrow. I'm Sulaiman Alede.
Thank you. I'm Awogbemi.
I'm Mel Taube. Thank you.
See you then.